Topic 3. Governance and Strategic Planning for Security. Security Governance and Planning. It is difficult to overstate how essential planning is. In a setting where there are continual constraints on resources, both human and financial, good planning enables an organization to make the most out of materials at hand. While a Chief Information Security Officer and other information security managers can generate an urgent response to an immediate threat, they are well advised to utilize a portion of their routinely allocated resources towards the long-term viability of the information security program. However, some organizations spend too much time, money, and human effort on planning with too little return to justify their investment. Each organization must balance the benefits of the chosen degree of planning effort against the costs of the effort. Planning involves representatives of the three communities of interest: individuals, internal and external to the organization, including employees, management, and outside stakeholders. Among the factors that affect planning are the physical environment, the political and legal environment, the competitive environment, and the technological environment. To implement effective planning, an organization's leaders usually begin from previously developed positions that explicitly state the organization's ethical, entrepreneurial, and philosophical perspectives. Precursor documents developed to support organizational planning include the mission statement, the vision statement, and the value statement. A mission statement explicitly declares the business of the organization and its intended areas of operations. The mission statement explains what the organization does and for whom. For example, Random Widget Works designs and manufactures quality widgets and associated equipment and supplies for use in modern business environments. This slide shows an example mission, vision, and value statement from the United States National Archives. By establishing a formal set of organizational principles and qualities in a value statement, as well as benchmarks for measuring behavior against these published values, an organization makes its conduct and performance standards clear to its employees and the public. For example, Random Widget Works values commitment, honesty, integrity, and social responsibility among its employees and is committed to providing its services in harmony with its corporate, social, legal, and natural environments. The vision statement expresses where the organization wants to go, while the mission statement describes how it wants to get there. Taken together, the mission, vision, and value statements provide the philosophical foundation for planning and guide the creation of the strategic plan. Vision statements should be ambitious, as they are meant to express the aspirations of the organization and to serve as a means for visualizing its future. For example, Random Widget Works will be the preferred manufacturer of choice for every business's widget equipment needs, with an RWW widget in every machine they use. Strategic planning is the process of defining and specifying the long-term direction to be taken by an organization and the allocation and acquisition of resources needed to pursue this effort. It guides organizational efforts and focuses resources towards specific, clearly defined goals in the midst of an ever-changing environment. A clearly directed strategy flows from top to bottom, and a systematic approach is required to translate it into a program that can inform and lead all members of the organization. This slide shows how top-down strategic planning might occur. First, general strategy is translated into specific strategy. Second, overall strategic planning is translated into lower-level tactical and operational planning. Once the organization's overall strategic plan is translated into strategic goals for each major division or operation, the next step is to translate these strategies into tasks with specific, measurable, achievable, and time-bound objectives. Information security, like information technology, must support more than its immediate parent in the organizational chart. As all organizational units will be using information, and not just IT-based information, the Information Security Group must understand and support the strategic plans of all business units. This role may at times conflict with that of the IT department, as IT's role is the efficient and effective delivery of information and information resources, while information security's role is the protection of all information assets. After an organization develops a general strategy, it must create an overall strategic plan by extending that general strategy into specific strategic plans for major divisions. Each level of each division translates those objectives into more specific objectives for the level below. The conversion of goals from the strategic level to the next lower level relies on the executive's ability to know and understand the strategic goals of the entire organization, to know and appreciate the strategic and tactical abilities of each unit within the organization, and to negotiate with peers, superiors, and subordinates. Once the organization's overall strategic plan is translated into strategic goals for each major division or operation, the next step is to translate these strategies into tasks with specific, measurable, achievable, and time-bound objectives. Strategic planning then begins a transformation from general sweeping statements toward more specific and applied objectives. Strategic plans are used to create tactical plans, which are in turn used to develop operational plans. This slide illustrates the different levels of strategic planning. Tactical planning has a more short-term focus than strategic planning, usually 1 to 3 years. It breaks applicable strategic goals into a series of incremental objectives. Operational planning is used by managers and employees to organize the ongoing day-to-day performance of tasks. It includes clearly identified coordination activities across department boundaries, such as communication requirements, weekly meetings, summaries, and progress reports. The first priority of the CISO and the InfoSec management team should be the structure of a strategic plan. While each organization may have its own format for the design and distribution of a strategic plan, the fundamental elements of planning are the same for all types of enterprise. Typical strategic plan elements include an executive summary, mission, vision, and value statements, organizational profile and history, strategic issues and core values, corporate goals and objectives, major business unit goals and objectives, and appendices as applicable. Some tips for planning include: articulate a comprehensive and meaningful vision statement that shares the organization's intent to attract others to join in the effort to achieve that goal. Try to bring a sense of logical analysis of the objectives and what has been accomplished, for example, by using tools to track outcomes against intentions to measure effects against prior actions. Work from an overarching plan that has been developed with the input from key stakeholders. Seek transparency in planning to make planning changes understandable by stakeholders. and make planning a process that engages everyone involved to work toward the common objectives. More tips for planning. Stick with the process over time, since the results may not always be achieved as quickly as intended. Develop consistent and repeatable methods of planning that are adopted as part of the organization's culture. Explain what is being done so that stakeholders understand the intentions of the process. Use processes that fit the organization's culture. And make the process as engaging as possible so that participants are not overwhelmed and feel put upon by the required actions. Governance is the set of responsibilities and practices exercised by the board and executive management with the goal of providing strategic direction, ensuring that objectives are achieved, ascertaining that risks are managed appropriately, and verifying that the enterprise's resources are used responsibly. Strategic planning and corporate responsibility are best accomplished using an approach many call governance, risk management, and compliance, or GRC. The governance of information security is a strategic planning responsibility whose importance has grown in recent years. Information security objectives must be addressed at the highest levels of an organization's management team in order to be effective and offer a sustainable approach. According to the Information Technology Governance Institute, information security governance includes all of the accountabilities and methods undertaken by the board of directors and executive management to provide strategic direction, establishment of objectives, measurement of progress toward those objectives, verification that risk management practices are appropriate, and validation that the organization's assets are used properly. ITGI recommends that boards of directors supervise strategic information security objectives by creating and promoting a culture that recognizes the criticality of information and information security to the organization, verifying that management's investment in information security is properly aligned with organizational strategies and the organization's risk environment, mandating and assuring that a comprehensive information security program is developed and implemented, and requiring reports from the various layers of management on the information security program's effectiveness and adequacy. ITGI information security governance desired outcomes include strategic alignment of information security with business strategy to support organizational objectives, risk management by executing appropriate measures to manage and mitigate threats to information resources, resource management by utilizing information security knowledge and infrastructure efficiently and effectively, performance measurement by measuring, monitoring, and reporting information security governance metrics to ensure that organizational objectives are achieved, and value delivery by optimizing information security investments in support of organizational objectives. NACD Information Security Governance Board of Directors essential practices include placing information security on the board's agenda, identifying information security leaders, holding them accountable, and ensuring support for them, ensuring the effectiveness of the corporation's information security policy through review and approval, and assigning information security to a key committee and ensuring adequate support for that committee. According to the Corporate Governance Task Force, an advisory group from the National Cybersecurity Partnership, the organization should engage in a core set of activities suited to its needs to guide the development and implementation of the Information Security Governance Program. This includes conducting an annual information security evaluation, the results of which the CEU should review with staff and then report to the Board of Directors. Conducting periodic risk assessments of information assets as part of a risk management program. Implementing policies and procedures based on risk assessments to secure information assets, and establishing a security management structure to assign explicit individual roles, responsibilities, authority, and accountability. Other activities include developing plans and initiating actions to provide adequate information security for networks, facilities, systems, and information, treating information security as an integral part of the system lifecycle, providing information security awareness, training, and education to personnel, conducting periodic testing and evaluation of the effectiveness of information security policies and procedures, creating and executing a plan for remedial action to address any information security deficiencies, developing and implementing incident response procedures, establishing plans, procedures, and tests to provide continuity of operations, and using security best practices guidance such as the ISO 27000 series to measure information security performance. The CGTF General Governance Framework has 5 levels. First is initiating, laying the groundwork for a successful improvement effort. Second is diagnosing, determining where you are relative to where you want to be. Third is establishing, planning the specifics of how you will reach your destination. Fourth is acting, doing the work according to the plan. And finally, there is learning from the experience to improve your ability to adopt new improvements in the future. This slide lists a number of the responsibilities of information security governance and the functional roles they are typically assigned to. In 2007, the CERT division of Carnegie Mellon University Software Engineering Institute published and promoted an implementation guide for its trademarked Governing for Enterprise Security program, which is now outdated but still useful. It includes 3 supporting articles. First, the characteristics of effective security governance. Second, defining an effective enterprise security program. And third, enterprise security governance activities. This slide shows the levels of the CERT GES hierarchy. ISO 27014, issued in 2013, is the ISO 27000 series standard for governance of information security. The standard specifies 6 high-level action-oriented information security governance principles. First, establish organization-wide information security. Second, adopt a risk-based approach. Third, set the direction of investment decisions. Fourth, ensure conformance with internal and external requirements. Fifth, foster a security-positive environment. And sixth, review performance in relation to business outcomes. This slide illustrates the interactions between the 6 principles of security governance according to ISO 27014.